Okay, the recording is started. This is the June 11th, 2019 Crossplane community meeting. And so we will start with the current milestone. So we've done a little bit of work after getting back from KubeCon in Barcelona and to figure out, identify some issues of technical debt and some quality issues that we want to address. So the remainder of the 0.3 milestone, which does include all the work we did for supporting GitLab, the remainder of the milestone will be focusing on addressing some of that technical debt and also establishing a lot of the best of how to write a reliable Kubernetes controllers for Crossplane to support new services and new providers, et cetera, so that we can unblock the rest of the community to potentially implement or deliver other support for other services. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the 0.3 milestone and project boards. So we took a pass through the 0.3 milestone and we updated the issues that are in the milestone with what we believe to be the higher priority issues around establishing patterns and practices and technical debt and quality, engineering quality type of related issues. So these are roughly prioritized as well. So we have, going from top to bottom, these are all issues that I think we should address in 0.3. And, they're pretty much, I think, in an order in which we could attack them as well. One of the big outstanding things is this release pipeline is kind of a bit of an unknown now, where we shipped the 0.2 milestone with a bit of a manual process. We have build scripts and make files and all this automated logic that runs and publishes the build artifacts and tags and all that sort of stuff. But we don't have integration with our, continuous integration, continuous deployment type of environment or Jenkins environment to run all that automated for us. So the last release, we did that from a developer laptop, and we are hoping to address this with official build automation such that we run the 0.3 release. It will be done from the official Jenkins build server. And then we have a number of items that are related to, issues that make it difficult to contribute to Crossplane, issues that make it difficult to be a maintainer on Crossplane, issues that make it difficult for newcomers to use Crossplane. So this is, as I was saying, the 0.3 milestone here is the output of that exercise around trying to get some ideas around where are the areas that we need to attack in terms of our technical debt and establishing patterns, et cetera. There was another board I'd like to show everyone too that we put together that was the big, all these issues and kind of categorized as well. They kind of fed into our, milestone prioritization. So this technical debt prioritization board here was just the first stab at finding out all the issues that are affecting our engineering quality, our engineering processes, preventing other people from coming and writing new controllers and services, et cetera. So this was just a big draft board around all that then fed into the milestone planning and the milestone project board. So I believe these are all items that are reasonable to attack in the remainder of the 0.3 milestone. And if there's any other feedback or ideas around, what are some of the biggest pain points in Crossplane, then getting issues opened on that. Issues are very welcome and desired, and we'll be happy to, as a community, incorporate those into the planning for this milestone and future milestones as well.
Hey, Jared, it's Phil. How's it going?
Hey, Phil.
Hey, yeah, so this actually would be perfect for shooting over to GitLab. They put a post on the Crossplane Slack over there. So I think this information about like what we're doing, and then that board that shows the groupings would actually just be perfect for actually kind of replying back on that issue that they had posted as well. So this is great.
I think, one thing that we're kind of missing here, honestly, is that so the support, a big chunk of the support that we did for GitLab, the GitLab specific support, with a GitLab controller and GitLab CRD and all that sort of stuff, that's in another repo that is not in the main Crossplane repo. That's in a GitLab controller repository underneath the Crossplane IO organization. And so, there's been a bit of discussion on it, but it seems like the logical place for bugs or issues or improvements, et cetera, that we want to capture specific to the GitLab implementation would be done in that repository over there. So in terms of the main milestone, what we want in the Crossplane core to improve, would not capture in everything that would be very specific to controllers. So I think it would be kind of a combination of, and I don't think we have everything captured necessarily in that GitLab controller repo either. We need to do an exercise of getting all that information written down, issues opened, better help us track the efforts that anyone would need to do in the GitLab controller specifically.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, it's just, I think on their GitLab stuff, they just posted issue like 1155, and it's just titled Evaluation of Crossplane as a Means for Provider Agnostic Multi-Cloud Deployment, and they just were looking for some additional info, and I think that kind of just cross-linking that for just the feedback on Crossplane specifically would probably help a lot. But yeah, I totally agree that GitLab controller is a separate thing, and so we should keep the feedback for that separate.
Yes, that sounds good. Then we can send that over to them, Phil. I took a note for that. Thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Did anybody have any further comments on the 0.3 milestone or the project or this tech debt or any of these, engineering quality and patterns and practices, things that we want to address in the very near term? All right. The next item I had here was around, general roadmap planning. So we had discussed this in the last meeting, last community meeting here, about taking a two-layered approach to our roadmap and, our upcoming milestones and themes that we want to accomplish with the Crossplane project. So the first one would be about making, extending Kubernetes to be able to have, standardize on the Kubernetes API and be able to manage and deploy, configure, manage, et cetera, a set of cloud provider services, on-premises services, the standard abstractions, all that sort of stuff. But focusing on more of a single cluster focus of being able to standardize the Kubernetes API and have that as a single place to manage all of your infrastructure in the same way that you manage and deploy your applications. And then a second phase approach of all the multi-cloud, multi-cluster scheduling, workload portability, workload modeling, complex workloads and composability and, experience around that and all that sort of stuff. So that is, still the, what the community thinking is here. But we have some more work to do to actually update the roadmap and capture all of that. And so I just wanted to make a note here in this meeting that any sort of feedback or input into the roadmap and future milestones that the community would like to see, please do open issues and make comments on things so that the direction of the community, since this is a community-driven project, is well known. so that can help all of us plan and figure out what the high priority things are to attack over the next several milestones. All right. And then I did want to just bring up one pull request here that we have open. So there's a couple of users in the community noticed that our Cloud SQL creation and deployment has a regression or a bug such that it's preventing it from being able to instantiate and be available for workloads to consume the database. So one of our community members opened an issue on this and suggested a potential workaround as well. Marcus took on that fix with this particular pull request, and I was kind of curious as to the fix here, or how this works actually, of how this addresses the issue where we pass in the host field of the user. Is that something that's already set? Is there like the guarantees around that, being a non-empty string, or how does that work exactly? Where does that value come from?
So this update, the user's update function returns like an update request, but that update request doesn't have the host field set because it doesn't take host as a parameter. But apparently the error that we were getting from the Google API side that was quoted in 508, there you go, failed to start update user operation for user root, invalid request, invalid host in request body. So it wasn't sending a host at all. And I checked what the MySQL user accounts were, because the way that we get the account that we're going to update is we run through the available accounts. And I checked, and there was a root at percent account on there, so the wildcard host. And so what happens in this update statement is that we're getting...
That's a jazzy ringtone, Marcus.
Yeah. I didn't want default. So what's happening in this update statement now is that we're getting our update request back. It doesn't have the host set, and then we're just using this .host method that's available there. It's a setter that updates the update request with the host, and then we're calling do.
Oh, and then we have host. That field is has already been set on this SQL admin user argument that's passed in.
And if you look at what that C user's update function actually does in upstream side, in the Google API side, it doesn't concern itself with host. It just takes an update request, and it's just taking that. It's leaving that part out. So. And our user there, who's it? WTF KRO, Thomas Cruzzero, suggested a similar fix, but suggested it be implemented upstream. So this is just a downstream way of applying the same fix.
Awesome. That's great that we found that. And I definitely think it's good that we're being able to address these, issues that are found by the community, quickly as well. I like that. And I also like everything about Thomas's username and his icon as well. I like everything about this. That is so cool. All right. So let's go back to the agenda document. And I believe that's all that I had on the agenda document today. Is there anything or any issue or discussion point that anybody wants to bring up now in this forum? All right, if there are no other items for discussion today, then we will reconvene in 2 weeks, in 2 Tuesdays from now at 9 Pacific time again. And thank you everybody for joining and being part of the Crossplane community.
Awesome. Thanks, Jared.
See you guys.
See ya.
Yeah.